A roar of screaming fans filled the packed theater as the lights dimmed, the curtain trembled, and the first familiar guitar strum echoed across the room. It was one of those nights people would remember forever, a night when even the air felt electric. The audience waited in breathless anticipation, staring at the silhouette standing in the soft glow of the spotlight. Elvis Presley, the king himself, stepped forward with a smile that could melt the coldest of hearts. The crowd erupted, people jumping from their seats, hands waving, voices drowning the speakers. It was the kind of energy only Elvis could command, where every single person felt lucky just to breathe the same air he breathed. The show began with that effortless charisma he carried everywhere he went. Every step, every grin, every note he sang felt like a promise that something magical was about to happen. No one could have predicted that tonight would be different, that something mysterious, unexpected, and unforgettable was waiting backstage, ready to reshape the memory of everyone present. Elvis himself didn't know that fate had something in store for him, something far from ordinary, something wrapped in mystery. He performed with his usual charm, playfully teasing the audience with his signature hip sways and dramatic pauses. People screamed the lyrics, some cried from emotion, some laughed with joy. It felt like perfection, but backstage a shadowy figure watched silently, her face partially hidden under a dark hood, her posture calm and unwavering, as if she belonged there in ways no one understood. She didn't move, didn't fidget, didn't appear nervous. She simply waited, and no one knew why. As Elvis moved into one of his most beloved gospel-inspired ballads, he closed his eyes and took a deep breath. A hush fell over the crowd. This was the moment everyone cherished, when the king let his raw soul shine. His voice softened, rising and falling with the kind of emotion that made even the toughest men blink away tears. The air thickened with feeling. People held one another's hands. Some whispered prayers, and just then, as he gripped the microphone and opened his mouth to sing the chorus, a gentle, almost angelic harmony drifted across the stage. Elvis's eyes snapped open. That voice wasn't part of the band. It wasn't coming from the backup singers. It came from somewhere else. The audience stirred, confused, curious. Elvis stepped back slightly, searching. That voice was beautiful, haunting even, as if it floated from another world. He turned toward stage left. And there she was. A woman stood at the very edge of the stage, half hidden in shadow, wearing a simple white dress that glowed under the lights. No one recognized her. Security didn't move. The band kept playing, but their eyes widened in shock. Elvis, instead of reacting with fear or irritation, simply stared at her, frozen the way a man freezes when he sees something that touches the deepest part of him. The mysterious woman took one slow step forward, then another, moving into the light until everyone could see her clearly. The crowd gasped as her face appeared. She was stunning, but not in the glamorous Hollywood way. She had a soft, elegant beauty, the kind carried by someone who has walked through storms and come out glowing with quiet strength. Her eyes held depth, sorrow, history. And yet she smiled with tenderness as though she knew Elvis, as though she had been waiting for this exact moment. No one understood how she got there. No security guard had seen her slip through. No coordinator recognized her. She didn't have a badge. She wasn't a backup singer. She seemed to appear out of nowhere, yet her presence felt strangely familiar. Elvis didn't speak. He simply extended his hand toward her, silently inviting her onto the stage. The crowd screamed in shock. Many grabbed their phones. Some yelled for security, unsure if this was dangerous. But Elvis shook his head slightly, signaling everyone to stay calm. He trusted her. He didn't know why, but he trusted her. She reached him, gently placing her fingers on his outstretched hand. A spark passed between them, subtle yet undeniable. The two stood facing each other, the music softening behind them. Elvis nodded to the band, signaling them to continue playing. Then, without breaking eye contact with her, he began to sing the next line. She joined him. Her voice blended with his perfectly, like two halves of one whole. The harmony was so powerful it felt like the kind that could lift souls straight out of their bodies. People in the audience cried openly, hands over their hearts, phones forgotten. Some whispered to strangers beside them, asking who she was. Others prayed. Some simply stared in wonder as the mysterious woman and the king sang together as if they had practiced this moment their entire lives. Elvis felt emotions inside him he hadn't felt in years. He felt warmth, longing, something familiar yet impossible. He didn't understand it, but he knew this was no ordinary duet. He sang softer, giving space for her voice, completely captivated. She sang with a depth that sounded like a lifetime of love, loss, and unspoken truths. Every word coming from her lips carried a weight that made even the musicians tremble. When the song reached its peak, the audience rose as one, unable to stay seated. The entire theater was on its feet, the applause thunderous, drowning out everything else. Elvis and the woman held the final note together, their voices rising so beautifully it felt like time itself had stopped. When the music ended, the crowd exploded. People were screaming, crying, throwing flowers onto the stage. Elvis gently squeezed the woman's hand, breathless. He whispered, "Who are you?" The woman only smiled, her eyes holding something tender, something aching. She leaned closer, speaking quietly in a voice only he could hear. Her words made Elvis freeze, his jaw dropping, eyes widening in disbelief. His fingers trembled around her hand. The musicians watched in confusion as their fearless star suddenly looked shaken. Before he could reply, the woman released his hand. She stepped back slowly, her eyes never leaving his. The crowd begged for her name, shouting questions, but she remained silent. Elvis took a step toward her, wanting to stop her, wanting answers, but she gently shook her head. She walked backward off the stage, disappearing into the shadows just as silently as she had arrived. When the lights shifted, she was gone. Completely gone. Security searched everywhere backstage, checking every room, every hallway. They questioned staff, viewers, volunteers. No one had seen her enter. No one had seen her leave. Her name wasn't on any list. There was no footage of her arriving, no record of her anywhere. It was as if she had materialized out of thin air and vanished the same way. But Elvis knew the truth, or at least he understood enough to know this was something meant only for him. He returned to the center of the stage, still shaken. The crowd cheered, waiting for him to speak. But Elvis wasn't the same anymore. Something in his expression had changed. His confidence, though still present, was overshadowed by something deeper. He stared at the spot where she had stood, replaying her words in his mind. He lifted the microphone, voice trembling just enough for the audience to sense something unusual. "I've sung all my life," he said softly, "but what happened just now, that was something else entirely. Something beyond what any of us understand." The crowd fell completely silent. Elvis continued the show, but those close to him noticed that he wasn't performing for fame or applause anymore. It was as if he were singing for her, the mysterious woman who had come and gone like a ghost. Every song afterward carried a rawness, a vulnerability that touched even the coldest hearts. Later that night, after the show ended and fans flooded out of the venue buzzing with theories, Elvis sat alone in his dressing room staring at the photograph on his table. The photo was old, faded, and worn from years of being held. It was a picture of Elvis as a young boy, standing beside his mother, Gladys. He whispered her name. Earlier, the mysterious woman had leaned in and whispered something into his ear. Something that explained the way she looked at him. Something that explained her voice, the emotion, the warmth, the familiarity. She had whispered, "Don't stop singing, baby. I'm still with you." Those were the exact words his mother used to tell him when he was young. Elvis closed his eyes, letting tears slip silently down his cheeks. He hadn't cried in years, not like this. He clutched the photo to his chest, whispering, "Mama, was that really you?" He didn't know if she had returned from beyond, or if this was some miracle, or if the universe had granted him one impossible moment with the person who shaped his soul. All he knew was that the woman's voice, her eyes, her smile, her words, it all felt like Gladys. Not similar, not close, exactly like her. The next morning, newspapers exploded with headlines about the mysterious woman. Fans posted theories. Some said she was an angel. Others claimed she was a ghost. Some believed she was Elvis's long-lost relative. Some thought she was a superfan who snuck in. But the strangest part, none of the audience recordings captured her clearly. In every video, her face blurred or faded or appeared as a silhouette no matter the angle. Her voice sounded distant, like an echo. No one could explain it. But Elvis didn't need proof. He wasn't trying to convince anyone. Because deep inside, he felt something he hadn't felt since childhood. The comfort of knowing that his mother was still watching over him, still guiding him, still protecting him. From that day forward, Elvis sang differently. He put more emotion into his performances than ever before. He connected with fans on a deeper level, speaking from the heart during shows, telling them to cherish their loved ones, to forgive, to believe in things beyond the world they could see. Some nights, he would pause mid-song, glance toward the side of the stage, and smile faintly, as though he expected someone to be standing there. Someone only he could see. People noticed that smile, and though they didn't understand it, they felt its warmth. Behind the fame, behind the glamour, behind the legend, Elvis was still a son who loved and missed his mother more than anything. That night gave him closure he never knew he needed. It healed something inside him that had been hurting for years. It reminded him that grief isn't the end, that love never disappears, that sometimes miracles happen when we least expect them. Years passed. Fans who had been at that concert never forgot that night. Some claimed they felt a presence in the room. Others said they saw a glow around the mysterious woman. Many insisted it was the most emotional performance Elvis ever gave. It became a legendary story whispered among fans, debated by skeptics, cherished by believers. And as for Elvis, the world knows the impact he left, the music he gave, the souls he touched. But very few know the truth he carried with him quietly, that on one unforgettable night, when the lights shone their brightest and the world watched in awe, his mother returned to sing with him one last time. The king didn't just give the world music that night. He received something too, a gift beyond explanation, beyond fame, beyond understanding. A moment so powerful it stayed with him forever. And as he often said afterward in interviews, with a mysterious smile that only a few understood, sometimes, love finds a way back. Even when it seems impossible. And the audience who witnessed that night, those who still tell the story decades later, swear one thing to this day. When that mysterious woman sang with Elvis, it didn't feel like a stranger. It felt like heaven itself had stepped onto the stage.